Hello lovely people, welcome to Stella's Yarn Universe. In this crochet tutorial I will show you how to crochet this rabbit. Thank you very much for those of you who voted for this project. Also in my most recent poll you voted for a cuddly version versus realistic version, and the result was 50-50. So some of you made the brilliant suggestion of making something that could be both. So that's what I went for. I designed a realistic rabbit that could also be made with chenille yarn or even faux fur yarn if you're brave. So I tried both. In this video tutorial I will make this rabbit, and in the written pattern, the PDF version with many step-by-step photos of the process, I crocheted this rabbit, but it's the same pattern, so it's completely up to you which version you want to make. You can make both if you like. And so if you'd like the PDF pattern to work with a written pattern alongside this video, you can find it in the description box below, and it also includes a link to an ad-free version of this video, so you can use both. You can use them step-by-step photos for the most part, and then just refer to the video for the tricky sections if that's what you prefer. Completely up to you. So I have that on Etsy and Ravelry, and there's also a Ribbler version if you prefer an interactive pattern on the Ribbler app. And also it's on my Patreon, so all my patrons receive my PDF patterns that come out together with my video tutorials. It's just ready there to download along with 25 plus of my previous PDF patterns, so you can find the link to that below as well. And apart from that, I just want to say thank you so much for your patience. I've been meaning to get this done much sooner, but this was one of the patterns I struggled most with, almost as much as the snowy owl pattern, if you've seen that in my shops. There was so much frogging involved, and at some point I gave up. But then I thought, okay, better late than never. So I just tried again, and the rabbit just wanted to stand. I tried to make a sitting version, and it just wanted to stand. I just couldn't figure it out. So I thought, okay, let's make it stand. Let's change everything to fit that. And in the final version, it worked. And yeah, that's just to explain the delay. So thank you for waiting so long for this pattern. I'm so glad to have you here. And now let's talk about what materials we need for both of these rabbits. So these are all the materials. You don't need all of them. It depends on which rabbit you want to make. So if you want to make this smaller version here, for this one I used worsted weight or Aran yarn, specifically Scheepjes Stone Washed XL, and this shade is brown agate. I think Boulder Opal would be nice as well. That would be more beige like this shade. So I really like this yarn for this wild rabbit effect. And for the belly and the tail I used the shade, I believe that's Moonstone. You'll definitely recognize it if you check that out, but you don't need specifically this yarn. Any worsted or Aran yarn works well. Together with a 3.5 millimeter hook, and that's a size E. In terms of safety eyes, I used 9 millimeter safety eyes. I think 1 centimeter or 10 millimeter would have also worked, so they could have been bigger even. And for the embroidery, I used black embroidery floss together with a large-eyed sewing needle. I actually used one that's smaller than this. This is actually an embroidery needle, so a large-eyed sewing needle works best, for me at least. So that's the materials you need for this rabbit. For the larger rabbit, I used this chenille yarn. So the brand is this, called Jelly Baby. It's chunky. The weight is chunky, but you could use any kind of yarn. So you just need to make sure when making toys or any kind of amigurumi to use a smaller size. At least I would say 2 sizes smaller. So this yarn recommends a size 6 hook, or 6 millimeter hook, I should say. But I used 5 millimeters, so I went down from 6 to 5.5 to 5, and this I think worked quite well. I could have gone even smaller, I think. And then, yeah, in case you're interested in exactly the same yarn, the shade is called Teddy, and one skein was enough. I mean, I also used this white or cream color, only a little bit. Most of it was the main color, and this was enough. So that's 100 grams and 120 meters, or 3.5 ounces, and 131 yards. And I still have this much left. So I think yeah, most of you can do it with one skein in the main color, and then also some white if you want to use 2 colors. Or actually, this shade is called Vanilla Milkshake. So that's what I used for this rabbit, in combination, like I already mentioned, with a 5 millimeter hook. But yeah, you can go even larger, use even chunkier yarn and a bigger hook. Just like I said, make sure to go at least 3 sizes below what the yarn recommends. And then for the embroidery, I used 4-ply fingering weight yarn in black. This is Scheepjes Stone, but you could use any yarn with a similar weight. Maybe even DK or light worsted would work. And for the safety eyes, I used 15 millimeters. So again, I think they could even be bigger. So depends on depends on your preference. And now for either of these rabbits, we also need fiber fill. This is just so that I don't forget to mention it. Of course, we need much more, but I used everything I had, so I need to buy more. And then we need a yarn needle for sewing. We need a stitch marker, actually 9 stitch markers, 1 to mark the end of the round, and then 8 to pin the legs onto the belly before we crochet the legs onto the belly. That's just very helpful. Of course, safety pins would work just as well. Then we need some scissors, and you may need a drop of glue. I used a drop of super glue to glue the eyelets on, because they might slip about. So that's just something that's optional. And if you make the smaller rabbit, then you may want some pliers or something to fill the body parts. It's not necessary. I just love using them because I make so many small amigurumi. It's a good investment, I think. So with that being said, let's get crocheting. So let's start with crocheting the legs, starting with the forelegs. For this, I'm using the beige yarn. And we begin with a magic ring, so just use your preferred magic ring method. I don't have much experience with chenille yarn, but I always try to make the magic ring as small as possible because sometimes the yarn can get stuck. and it will be difficult to close, could be difficult to close the magic ring. So in round 1, we start with 6 single crochet in the magic ring. Then we close the magic ring, and in round 2 we start with an increase. And then we single crochet in the next stitch. And we repeat this 3 times total, 2 more times. 1 increase, and 1 single crochet. So that's round 2 done. Also, I'm trying to close the magic ring more. And those of you who have more experience with making larger cuddly toys, probably you could give us some tips in the comments. I guess that it's better to make a knot here or somehow secure the magic ring better. So if you have any tips for that, let us know. I know that with any kind of faux fur yarn, I always make more knots so that the ends don't unravel. And I guess it depends also on how often you wash the cuddly toy. So better to make it sturdier if you plan on washing it regularly. So in round 3, we start with 3 decreases. So we go through the front loop of the next stitch and the front loop of the next stitch. Then we pick up the yarn and pull it through the 2 front loops. Then we pick up the yarn and pull it through the 2 remaining loops on our hook. And we repeat this 2 more times, crocheting the next 2 front loops together. And once more. Now in the remaining 3 stitches we make 1 increase each. So here we single crochet 2 in each stitch. And that's it. So now we still have a stitch count of 9. In round 4 we start with 2 decreases. So again we single crochet the next 2 front loops together and repeat this once more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, just checking. So this is the next stitch. It's easy to miss. And that's our other decrease done. So now we should have 5 stitches left in the round. and we make 1 increase in each of them. So now we have a stitch count of 12. In round 5 we decrease 2 again, then we single crochet in the next stitch and increase in the next. So 2 single crochet in the next, and we repeat this 3 times total, 2 more times. 1 single crochet, 1 increase, and once more, 1 single crochet, 1 increase, and then we finish with a decrease. So we still have a stitch count of 12, and in the next round we start again with 2 decreases. And this time we make an increase next, and then a single crochet. And we repeat this 2 more times, increase, single crochet, increase, single crochet. And we finish with a decrease. So we still have a stitch count of 12. In the next round we repeat round 5, but this is round 7. So again, we start with 2 decreases. Then we single crochet in the next stitch and increase in the next. And we repeat this 2 more times, single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase, and we finish with a decrease. So we have a stitch count of 12 still, and we finish the round by making a slip stitch in the next stitch, and then we fasten off. And this is our foreleg done. I'm so happy that this worked, because sometimes a pattern made with cotton or wool yarn, or this wool acrylic blend that I used, doesn't work with chenille yarn, but so far so good. So you can start again and make the second foreleg, and then we'll make the hind legs. The hind legs also begin with a magic ring. And they also start with a 6 single crochet in round 1. In round 2, we start with an increase, and then we single crochet in the next stitch, and we repeat this 2 more times. 1 increase, and 1 single crochet, and 1 increase, and 1 single crochet. And here again I'm going to make a few knots to secure the magic ring. In round 3, we make 2 single crochet, and an increase, and we repeat this 2 more times. 2 single crochet, and an increase. Once more, and the last increase. Now we have a stitch count of 12. In round 4, we start with a single crochet, and then we make an increase, and we repeat this 2 more times. 1 single crochet, 1 increase, 1 single crochet, 1 increase, and then we finish with 3 decreases. 1, 2, 3. So we still have a stitch count of 12. In round 6, we start with 6 single crochet, and then we make 3 decreases. So now we're down to a stitch count of 9. In the next round, we start with a decrease, then we make 3 increases, and then we finish with 2 decreases. So we still have a stitch count of 9, and here I would start filling the paw, because it gets trickier the more that we crochet. So I'll be adding fiber fill once in a while. In the next 2 rounds we have 9 single crochet, so all we do is make 1 single crochet in each stitch. That's 1 round done, and another one just like this. And that's the second round of 9 single crochet done, and I'll be adding more fiber fill now. In the next round we start with 2 increases, then we have 2 decreases, and 3 increases. And now we have a stitch count of 12. In the next round we make 3 increases, and then 3 decreases. And then we finish the round with 3 increases. So now we have a stitch count of 15. Now we have 1 more round to go for the hind legs, and in this round we start with an increase, then we single crochet in the next stitch, and we repeat this once more. 1 increase and 1 single crochet. Then we have 3 decreases, and a single crochet, and then increase, and we repeat this again, single crochet and increase, and then we finish the round with a single crochet. So now we have a stitch count of 16, and we finish the hind leg also with a slip stitch in the next stitch, and then we fasten off. And we can fill a bit more of the leg now, and then you can repeat all of these steps to crochet the second hind leg. Next we'll crochet the belly, and for this I'm using the white or cream colored yarn, and so we start with a chain of 12. So I'm making a little loop on my hook, and then we make 12 chains. There we go. Now we'll crochet all around this chain. So in round 1 we start with 10 single crochet, starting here in the second chain from the hook. And that's 10. So now we should have one chain left here, and you can slightly pull this to make it nice and straight. Now in this last chain we make 4 single crochet. I'm going to make 2 from this side, so all the way up to this knot here. Then I'm going to turn everything, and in the same chain make 2 more single crochet on the other side of the knot, if that makes sense. So now we have 4 single crochet in the last chain, and we crochet in the other direction. So the next single crochet we place in the opposite side of these existing stitches. So next we have 9 single crochet, and the first one goes here, the next one here, the next one here, and so on. That's 9. Going to give this a little tug again. So here where we made the first single crochet, that's where we'll make the next 3 single crochet in from this side, so that in this spot at this end we'll also have 4 single crochet. So we'll have 4 single crochet on one end and 4 on the other. So this is where these 3 single crochet go. And that's round 1 done. And the round has 26 stitches. Now in round 2 we start with an increase. So in the first stitch of the round, we make an increase, and then we have 9 single crochet. And that's 9. Then we make 4 increases. That's the 4 increases done. Then we have again 9 single crochet. That's it. And then we finish the round with 3 increases. And that's round 2 done. We have a stitch count of 34 now. And I'm going to pull the yarn out a bit, because in the next round we will start attaching the legs. So let me show you how we will attach the legs in the next round. So these are the hind legs. They will go on here, and they will point forward but slightly outward, like so. So this is probably not going to stand, so I'll put it there for now. Same with the other one. It will go on the other side, pointing forward and slightly outward. So the forelegs, they will go in the front of the body, which is here. They will go to the top here, close to each other without any gap in between, and the little paws will be facing downward like so. And so now we can mark the stitches that will be crocheted together with the belly. So we can already find the right placement for them. So if you imagine this is the belly, the underside of the rabbit, and then the hind legs should go on like this, then you can find the 4 stitches that are on the inside here, closest to the belly. So I would say that's this, 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 and this. If you would want them more outward facing, you would move more towards the back, but I think this should be all right. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm marking these stitches. I'm placing the stitch marker from the inside out, because this is how we will attach the leg to the belly in a moment. So that saves us some time. So here we have 4 stitches marked now. 1, 2, 3, 4. And these are the ones that will go on the belly like so. So that's one hind leg done. We'll do the same with the other one. So it will go on something like this. So I would say we mark these stitches 1, 2, 3, 4. So this was one of them, and I go through from the inside, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. And just to double check, we'll go on like this. So this seems good to me. So again, you can shift the stitches if you want the legs to be more outward facing. So right now they are more forward facing, and you could shift the stitches a little bit by shifting the stitch marker to the back and the other one as well. So I hope that makes sense. Now the forelegs go on right here and onto the 8 stitches in the center front of the belly, and so here it makes most sense to find the stitches that are in the back. So I'm starting with this one, and then 2, 3, 4. So that should ensure that the foreleg is facing forward. So this bend here is the underside of the forearm. So I'm almost finding the stitch that's most centered, but I'm shifting it a little bit towards the right. And then the other marked stitch is almost on the side because this is going to be the right forearm. So it will go to the right side. So we're trying to mirror this on the other arm now. So here, again, I'm trying to find a stitch at the back, at the underside of the foreleg. That's almost centered, so I'd say this one. And then from here we count outward to the side, but to the other side to mirror the other arm. So that's 2, 3, 4. And that looks good to me. It will make even more sense in a bit, because now we can flip this around, because this is how we will crochet. And so we will make one more single crochet on the belly in white, switching to the beige or light brown color. So that's going to be this stitch, and then with the next 4 stitches, these 4 here, we will attach the first hind leg. And I flipped it around, so now this is going to be this leg. And so we can already pin this in place to make it easier for us later. So we leave 1 stitch empty, and then the first stitch marker goes onto the next stitch. Then we skip 2 stitches on the belly, 1, 2. And this is how the first hind leg will be attached to the belly. Then we leave 6 stitches space. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we'll attach the first forearm. And again, now everything's flipped. So it's going to be this foreleg, I should say. So in this next stitch here goes the first stitch marker. Then we skip 2 stitches, 1, 2. And in the next one goes the other stitch marker. So this should be the center front. So it should look like this is completely in the front. And you can maybe now visualize how it will look. So the leg will be like this, more or less, and the arm like this. So it's now even quite inward facing. So if you don't want that, if you want it more downward, you could shift everything inward. So let me show you. So I remove my stitch marker here and go to the next stitch, more inward, and then I join it with the same stitch of the belly. And then I need to shift the other one as well. So here we should skip 2 stitches. And on the belly we should skip 2 stitches and go in the 4th. Again, this is the center here. And now the arm looks, the foreleg looks more like it's pointing downward. So I think that's better. I think it would be too inward facing before. It's still inward facing, so it's a good thing that I shifted that. So now the next one, let's see how that looks. So the next foreleg goes right next to the stitch marker that we already placed, so right on the other side of the center. Then we skip 2 stitches, and in the 4th we place the other one, and now we can see how this arm looks. I think that's also too inward facing. So here I'm shifting the stitch marker in the other direction. So going through the same stitch of the belly, but shifting 1 stitch to the right on the foreleg. And I'm doing the same with the other stitch marker, shifting 1 stitch to the right, but going through the same stitch on the belly. Let's see how it looks now. And that looks better to me, but still I would shift both arms still more, so that they go straight like this instead of like this. So this is a matter of preference. You can choose what you prefer. So this foreleg needs to be still a bit twisted this way. So I'm going more inward with the stitch marker. So shifting 1 stitch to the left and going through the same stitch on the belly. And I do the same with the other stitch marker, shifting 1 stitch to the left, but going through the same stitch on the belly. And that makes it straighter. So I'm happy with this. I'll just repeat it on the other foreleg. Shifting 1 stitch to the right. And 1 stitch to the right with this one as well. And here we should have 2 stitches skipped. Yeah, that looks better. So I'm happy with that. Next, we skip the next 6 stitches here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and in the next one goes the other hind leg. So let's see if I placed these stitch markers correctly. Then we skip 2 stitches and the other stitch marker goes in the 4th stitch. We should have 5 stitches left in the round now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is how it looks. So from this angle, let's see. I think this leg is more outward facing than this one. So I need to decide which one to adjust, and I think it's this one. So since I want to shift it this way, I'm going to move the stitch marker to this side here. So shifting 1 stitch to the side. And this here as well. So now I think they're more symmetrical. So I hope this worked for you as well. Now we can go ahead and crochet the next round. So now we flip everything around. And like I said earlier, we have 1 single crochet left in white, but we will change to beige or brown with this stitch. So we go through the stitch, pick up the white yarn, pull it through, then we drop the white yarn and we join the beige or brown yarn instead and pull it through the white loops. Now later I will tie both these yarn ends together. First I just want to make sure that everything looks good with the legs. So next we crochet through both the first hind leg and the belly. So we can remove the first stitch marker here and go through both stitches and make a single crochet. Then through the next 2 and the next 2. And this is how it looks. The first leg is attached on the inside. Now we have 6 single crochet in the belly. That's it. Now we crochet through both the foreleg and the belly. So we remove the stitch marker. That must have been here. And we go through both foreleg and belly. Single crochet 1, 2, 3 and 4, and now we can see how it will look. So that's looking good. Then we'll go straight into crocheting through the other foreleg. So going through both layers again and making 1 single crochet, 2, 3, and 4. And here we can again check to ensure that we're happy with the angle of the legs, and I think that looks good. Next we have 6 single crochet directly in the belly, and then we crochet through the other hind leg. One, 2, 3, and 4. And then we have 5 single crochet left. And our stitch count is still 34. So you can check again if you're happy with how it all looks now. In the next round, we'll crochet around the legs. So our stitch count will increase. And we start again with 1 single crochet. And then we crochet. Then we make 12 single crochet around the first hind leg. So in all the stitches that we didn't crochet into yet, starting with the first one right here. When you crochet in the slip stitch, you can pull the yarn end a bit afterwards in case the stitch loosened. And then just make sure you don't crochet in the same stitch that has the slip stitch in, but instead in the next one. So that's the remaining 12 stitches of the hind leg. Next we crochet in the belly here, so 6 single crochet. And then we crochet around the forelegs. So we have 8 single crochet in each of the forelegs. Again, pulling the yarn end after crocheting in the slip stitch. And that's 8. And we jump directly from one foreleg to the other. So here we also make 8 single crochet all around. And here you will have a little gap. Don't worry about that, we will close that later. Then we have 6 single crochet in the belly. And then again 12 single crochet around the other hind leg. And then we finish with the last 5 single crochet. And our stitch count is now 58. And the legs are properly attached now. In the next round, we will create an opening here above the forelegs, and that's for the chest and neck. So we will skip the 10 stitches that are in the center front and make 12 chains, and then skip these stitches in the center front to create an opening out of which we will crochet the chest and the neck later. And so we can already mark these stitches. So here where we have this gap, that's the midpoint. So if we count 5 stitches in either direction, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then in the other one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we should have the 10 stitches in the center front. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So these are the stitches that we're going to skip in the next round. So we start with 22 single crochet. And that's 22. So the next stitch should be the first marked stitch here, marking the 10 stitches that we are about to skip. So now we make a chain of 12. And now we should be careful not to twist this chain. And then we continue crocheting next to the other stitch marker. So we should have 26 stitches left in the round. So we make one single crochet in each of them. Here we have this opening now. And you can pause the video here and hit play once you completed this round. So my round is complete, and I've also hidden the yarn ends from the legs and used them as filler. So in the next round, we start with 12 single crochet. That's 12, and then we make a decrease. Then we make 8 single crochet. That's 8. Then we make 1 single crochet in each of these chains. So I'm going through the back loop of each chain. We want to at least keep 1 loop to later crochet the chest and neck out of. So trying to go through the back loop only, and I make 1 single crochet in each of the 12 chains. It's okay if you go through the back loop and the 3rd loop. As long as there's 1 loop left to crochet the chest out of, it's fine. And that's 12. I could have removed these stitch markers actually. So this is how it looks so far. Then we have 8 single crochet. Yes, that's 8. Then we make a decrease. And then 13 single crochet. Now we should have 3 stitches left in the round, and in the next one we make an increase, then a single crochet, and an increase in the last one. So that's the round done, and our stitch count is still 60. The next round again begins with 12 single crochet. And 12. Then we make a decrease, sorry. And then we make 5 single crochet. And now we have 2 decreases in a row. One and 2. Then we have 8 single crochet. And again 2 decreases in a row. Then we have 5 single crochet. And a decrease, and then we single crochet in the remaining 18 stitches. And now we have a stitch count of 54. In the next round we start again with 12 single crochet. And then we make a decrease. And then we make 3 single crochet. And 2 decreases in a row. Then 6 single crochet. And 2 decreases in a row. Then we have 3 single crochet. And 1 decrease. And then we have 15 single crochet. And now we should have 3 stitches left, and in the next one, we increase, then we single crochet in the next, and we increase in the last. So now we have a stitch count of 50. And the next round we start with a 16 single crochet. Then we make a decrease, and then we make 6 single crochet. And another decrease, and then we single crochet in the remaining 24 stitches of the round. So you can pause the video here and hit play once you completed the round. And that's it. We have a stitch count of 48 now. And the next round starts with 3 single crochet, and then we make a decrease. And then we make 6 single crochet, and decrease, and we repeat this 4 more times, 5 times in total. 6 single crochet, and decrease, This next one is a decrease. And we repeat this one more time. And then we finish with 3 single crochet. So we have a stitch count of 42 now. And in the next round we start with 5 single crochet. And then we make a decrease. And we repeat this 5 more times, 6 times total. 5 single crochet and 1 decrease. So you can pause the video here and finish the round in your own time. So the round is complete and we have a stitch count of 36 now. In the next round we start with 2 single crochet. And then we make a decrease. Then we make 4 single crochet. And a decrease, and we repeat this 4 more times. 4 single crochet. And a decrease. And then we finish with 2 single crochet. So now we're down to a stitch count of 30. And here is a good time to start filling the body, although we'll still have this opening here to fill more. But especially if you haven't filled the upper parts of the hind legs, it's a good opportunity to do so now because it's easier where we have this large enough opening here on the back. So you can go ahead and do that before we continue crocheting. Now the next round starts with 3 single crochet. And then we make a decrease. And we repeat this 5 more times, 6 times total. So you can pause the video here and complete the round in your own time. The round is complete now and we have 24 stitches. I'm just adding some more fiber fill. I'm adding a little more after each round now, just because it's easier to distribute the filling in the back here through this opening. In the next round, we start with 1 single crochet. Oops. One single crochet, and then we make a decrease. Then we make 2 single crochet and a decrease, and we will repeat this 5 times in total, so 4 more times. 2 single crochet and a decrease. And then we make 1 single crochet in the remaining stitch, so we have a stitch count of 18 now. And once again, I'm adding more filling now. When it comes to how much filling to add, it's really up to you, depending on how soft you like your toy to be. If you're making a large cuddly toy, or compared to the other version, large, I mean, then you may want to keep it softer than the small version of the rabbit that I showed you in the beginning. I'm stuffing those that are more like decor or sculptures quite firmly. With this, you may want to go more easy on the filling. However, they become more soft over time the more they are cuddled with. So also don't make sure to understuff. So in the next round, we again start with 1 single crochet and a decrease. And we repeat this 6 times in total, 5 times, 6 times in total this time. So you can pause the video and hit play once you've completed the round. So I added more filling, and now we only have 1 round to go, in which we will make 6 decreases in a row. So we have 12 stitches now, and we will reduce them to 6. And that's the round done. So here we can fasten off. By the way, don't worry if the arms are spread out like this now. It will get better, and later you can even stitch them together if you prefer. I keep calling it arms. Of course, I mean forelegs. And so now we can close the round here. So we thread the end on our yarn needle. And then we go through the front loops. So through the front loop of each of the 6 stitches. And don't pull too tightly just yet. Anyway, whether you're using chenille yarn, or especially if you're using Scheepjes Stone Washed XL, then please don't pull too tightly because it easily rips, and that's very frustrating. So we carefully close the round. And then we go through the center of the last round to weave the end in. So I'm just bringing the needle somewhere it can go through to. And then we again pull carefully just to make sure that the back is nice and flat and that there are no bumps if possible. And then we can weave the end in. And trim it off. So that's the back closed. Next we can rejoin the yarn to crochet this upper part of the body here. So next we'll rejoin the yarn in this stitch here, which is the last stitch before the 10 skipped stitches. So here you can see we already made a single crochet in it before making the chains. So we will crochet in this stitch again. So I'm going through there with my hook, and then we'll just pull the beige or brown yarn through. And for now, hold the end in place while we crochet in the 10 skipped stitches here. So we make 1 single crochet in each of these 10 stitches. This is 10. Now the next stitch goes into the first stitch we made after the 10 skipped stitches. So that's this one here that has already 1 single crochet in. The first one we made after making these 12 chains. So we go through this stitch again. So right here, and make 1 single crochet there. Next we will crochet in the other side of the 12 chains that we made. So you can see these loops here. Those are the other sides of the chain, so you can count them first to make sure that you don't accidentally skip one. That sometimes happens to me. So there should be 12. Yeah, so this here should be the first one. Right here. And we make 1 single crochet in each of them. And that's 12. Now the last stitch of the round goes in the same stitch where we joined the yarn. So here we make a single crochet now. And that completes the round. So we have 24 stitches in the round now. You can make a few knots to secure this yarn end if you think it's necessary. And then we can hide that. And in rounds 2 and 3, the next 2 rounds, we will single crochet in these 24 stitches. So just 1 single crochet in each. And you can pause the video here and do it in your own time. So these are rounds 2 and 3 done. I just want to mention, if you want to close this gap here right now, this would be a good time. You could use a short piece of yarn, any scrap of the same yarn, and close it from the inside just by making a few stitches and then making a double knot. Or you could leave it for now and close it later after we attach the head. That's what I'm going to do. Also, now is a good time to fill the upper part of the forelegs if you haven't done so already, because now it's still nice and easy. And then I also filled this upper part of the back here, and I'll continue to do so after each following round. So in the next round we start with 1 single crochet, and then we make a decrease. Then we make 6 single crochet, and a decrease. Here we go. Then we repeat this once more, 6 single crochet and a decrease. And then we finish with 5 single crochet. So we have a stitch count of 21 now. And in the next round, we'll single crochet 1 in each of these 21 stitches. So you can pause the video and complete the round in your own time. The round of 21 single crochet is done now, and the next round starts with 2 single crochet. Then we decrease. Then we make 5 single crochet. And a decrease. And we repeat this once more, 5 single crochet. And a decrease. And then we finish with 3 single crochet. So now we have a stitch count of 18. In the next round, we start with 4 single crochet. And then we make a decrease. And we repeat this 4 more times. Sorry, 2 more times, 3 times total. And once more. So now we have a stitch count of 15. We only have 1 round to go, in which we will make 1 single crochet in each. So you can pause the video here and make these last 15 single crochet. So the last round of 15 single crochet is done now, and now we make a slip stitch in the next stitch and fasten off. And here we need a long yarn, and because we will use it to attach the head and close any gaps that the body still has, and so I'm leaving at least 40 centimeters, 16 inches, and maybe a bit more, maybe like 50 centimeters or 20 inches just in case. So that's the body complete. Of course, we still need to fill the neck nicely before the assembly part. There we go, that's all done. So now we can crochet the head. Before we start crocheting the head, we need to set aside 2 strands of yarn, about 20 centimeter or 8 inches long. We need those for the eyelids before we finish the head, so we need to have them ready. And so for the head, we also start with the magic ring. And in round 1, we make 6 single crochet. In round 2, we start with an increase. Then we make a single crochet. And we repeat this 2 more times. Increase. Single crochet. Increase. And single crochet. And here we can again secure the yarn end with a few knots. We have a stitch count of 9, and in the next round we make 2 single crochet. The next one goes here, and then we make an increase. And we repeat this 2 more times. 2 single crochet and an increase. Two single crochet and an increase. So now we have a stitch count of 12. In the next round we start with an increase, and then we make 3 single crochet. And we repeat this 2 more times. Increase and 3 single crochet. Increase and 3 single crochet. So now we have a stitch count of 15. In the next round we start with 2 single crochet and an increase. Then we have 4 single crochet and an increase, and we repeat this again. 4 single crochet and an increase, and then we make 2 single crochet in the remaining stitches. So now we have a stitch count of 18. In the next round we start with an increase, and then we make 5 single crochet. And we repeat this 2 more times. Increase and 5 single crochet. increase, and 5 single crochet. So now we have a stitch count of 21. In the next round we start with 3 single crochet. Then we make an increase, and then we make 6 single crochet. And an increase. And we repeat this once more, 6 single crochet. And increase. And then we single crochet in the remaining 3 stitches. And now we have a stitch count of 24. In the next 3 rounds, round 8 to 10, we single crochet 1 in each of these 24 stitches. So you can pause the video here and complete the next 3 rounds in your own time. My 3 rounds of 24 single crochet are done now, and I secured my last stitch because now is a good time to insert the safety eyes. And so they go in between rounds 7 and 8. So at the end of the round marks the bottom side, although it doesn't really matter with this shape. So don't worry too much about the placement of your first eye. Just count to round 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we'll insert the eye somewhere here. Then for the other rabbit, I left 9 stitches space, counting the upper round here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So somewhere here, let's see how that looks. I'm using 15 millimeter safety eyes, just as a reminder. I think that works nicely. So I'm not securing the eyes yet, so I'm keeping this there for now, because now we can embroider the eyelids, and so we need these 8-inch long pieces of yarn that we set aside earlier, and we can thread them on our yarn needle. So we go inside the head and then go through at the outer corner of one of the eyes and pull the end through. Leave it long enough so that we can still tie it together. And then we find the inner corner of the eye, wherever we want that to be. Going for this spot. So now we are embroidering the lower lid. And if it doesn't stay in place, we can later attach it with a drop of glue. So don't worry about that. We just don't want it to go under the eye. That's the most important part now. Then I go through the same spot, although in this case I'm trying to go a bit lower because I want the upper eyelid to be on top of the to overlap with the lower lid in the front here. And so I'm going a bit lower, pull the yarn back out, And then I go through the outer corner here again. If you like, you can again go a bit lower so that at the outer corner also the upper eyelid overlaps with the lower one. And so this is kind of how it looks. And pull that as tight as needed. And then we can tie the yarn ends together, or first secure the eyes. One of the eyes at least. So it's looks like it's slipping off, but we can fix that with a drop of glue. So now we can tie the ends together. So we can apply a small drop of glue here. And this is super glue, so I'm just using a little drop. And then hold the eyelid in place. And then let it dry for a moment. And then we can repeat all of these steps on the other side. By the way, you can of course also glue the lower lids in place if necessary. And once that's all done and dry and safe, then we can start filling the head with fiber fill before we finish crocheting it. So that's it so far. I'll keep adding more after each following round. And so in the next round, we start with 1 single crochet. And then we make a decrease. Then we make 2 single crochet. And a decrease. And we repeat this 4 more times. 2 single crochet and a decrease. And then we single crochet in the remaining stitch of the round. And now we'll add more fiber fill. Our stitch count is 18 now. And in the next round, we start with 1 single crochet again. And then we make a decrease. And we repeat this 5 more times, 6 times in total. 1 single crochet and 1 decrease. And now our round is 12 stitches small, and it's the last chance to add more fiber fill. Then we'll crochet the next and last round. So in the last round we make 6 decreases in a row. And then we fasten off. And now we close the round. So it's the same thing we did before on the back. We thread the yarn end on our needle and go through the front loop of each stitch, not pulling too tightly just yet. And in general, being careful with not pulling too tightly, especially if you're using anything else but cotton yarn. Now I lost count. I guess I went through there. So carefully closing the round, and then we go through the center of the round. I feel like I forgot to stitch here, so I'll go through that as well, just to stitch it down and not have it stick out so much. So then we gently pull until we have a flat surface. And then we weave in the yarn end. And trim it short. And just give it a little squish to distribute the fiber fill. And that's the base of the head done. Of course, we still need to give it a nose and mouth and ears. So next I'll embroider the nose and mouth. You can do this later if you prefer. I just do it now so that I have a cute rabbit face looking at me while I crochet the rest. I did end up using a thicker thread for the embroidery here. I used 4-ply fingering weight yarn, Scheepjes Stone. I'll be sure to mention this when editing. I think it looks much cuter this way. We need about not more than 30 centimeters or 12 inches of black embroidery floss or any color you like to use. And I'm using an embroidery needle, so we want one with a sharp tip for this. So we'll embroider a little V and then a little downward stitch, like a vertical mini stitch, and then a little V for the mouth. And so I try to, this works differently with this rabbit that I made here. So for this one, you want to stitch through the fibers and not in between stitches when doing the embroidery. This is a bit tricky when it comes to this chenille yarn because it's just a thin thread with lots of fluff around. So we could do our best to catch some of the fluff and therefore have more control over the placement of our stitches, but it doesn't always work. So yeah, we can try to aim for the gaps in between stitches that look best when it comes to the placement of our embroidery stitches. So I hope this makes sense. If you've done any crochet project with me, you know what I mean. And usually yeah, usually I try to catch the fibers to have more control over the stitch, because if we go in between stitches, then it just wobbles and doesn't give us much control. So I leave this end here long enough so that we can hide it later. And I made this stitch kind of align with the upper side of the eye. So now I'm going through the center here. This is the center of the first round. And I'm making a stitch in the other direction. I'm trying my best to catch some of the fluff so that I have more control over the placement. Again, aiming for the upper side of the eye. And that's it. So then I go through the center here and make a short stitch downward, vertical stitch, that's it. And I repeat this once more to complete this stitch. And yeah, that didn't quite go where I wanted to, but that can easily be fixed by going under the stitch. So if you catch this and then pull it to the side where our next stitch goes. So now we make another upside down. Now we make an upside down V shape to embroider the mouth. So this one kind of goes in this direction. So I'm sure other designers who often work with this kind of yarn know better how to do this. So I won't be offended if you look for another tutorial for this part. So that's one side of the mouth. And now I'm going through here again because I want to repeat this vertical stitch. So going through the center of the mouth to finish the upside down V shape. So I think that's okay. So now I go through here again, through the center of the mouth, and now bring the thread end somewhere here. And I'll do the same with the other end. Just go through there. And then through the center of the nose to the same spot. And then we can tie the ends together and shorten them and hide them. And of course you could do this with a thin yarn instead of embroidery floss if you wanted to look bolder. And then we can hide these ends with the hook. So that's the nose and mouth done, and now we can crochet the ears. The ears are crocheted in rows. So we start with a little loop. Make sure to leave the yarn end long enough for sewing. And we can use both yarn ends for sewing. And so we start with 5 chains. And then we make 4 single crochets starting in the second chain. Then we chain and turn, and in row 2 we make 4 single crochet again. Chain and turn. In row 3 we make again 4 single crochet. Chain and turn, and then in row 4 we make 1 single crochet, skip the next stitch and make 2 single crochet. Chain and turn, then we make 3 single crochet, 1 in each of the 3 stitches. Chain and turn, then we single crochet 1, skip the middle stitch and make another single crochet in the last stitch. Chain and turn, then we single crochet in the 2 stitches that we now have. Now we'll crochet all around the ear. So we'll make a single crochet in the side of each stitch. So that would be 7 single crochet. And so I'm trying to catch this loop here to make the first one. That's 1. Then the next one goes through here. I try to always only catch 1 loop to avoid making gaps by making these stitches in the side. So that's 2. For the third one, I pick up this loop here. 3, then 4 goes in here. For the 5th, I go through this loop. Then 6 through here. And 7, I'll just put this one here. Now we turn everything 90 degrees. Now we make 1 single crochet in each of these 4 base chains. So 4 single crochet here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we crochet back up 1 single crochet in the side of each row. So starting with this loop here, and then the next loop, it's 2, 3, 4, let's go for this one here, 5, 6, 7. So this, to me, this is the right side, so I'm using this as the outer side or the back of the ear, and what looks more like the wrong side I'm using as the inside of the ear. And here we can fasten off, and we leave a long yarn end, so I'm leaving that 12 inches or 30 centimeters long, more or less. Then we thread this end on our yarn needle to finish the ear. So now we go through the first stitch of row 7. And then we go through the back loop of the last stitch we just made. So now we made a little cheat stitch to finish the ear. And then we can weave this yarn end down to the base of the ear, where we can use it in just a bit to sew the head on. So sew the ear onto the head, I should say. So you can repeat all of these steps to crochet the other ear. One thing I should mention, if you want the ear to be longer than this, and then you can add more rows of 4 single crochet, more than rows 1 to 3. You can increase that number, and then of course you also need to increase the number of stitches that you make when you crochet around the ear. So you always want to make 1 single crochet in the side of each row. So I hope this makes sense. So the last thing to crochet is the tail, and for this we need our white yarn again, or cream color. But we also need the brown or beige yarn, but we start with white. And so we begin with a magic ring. And again, we start with a 6 single crochet in the magic ring. I'll make a couple of knots now because at the end of the next round we want to change color. So it should be easier to do it now. So we need our beige or brown yarn soon. So I have that ready here. So in round 2, we start with an increase. Then we single crochet in the next stitch. Then increase in the next. Single crochet and once more increase. And single crochet in the next, changing to brown or beige. So we start with white and then we join the beige yarn, but we still need the white yarn as well. So you can carry the white yarn through the stitches if you haven't done that before or are not comfortable with this technique. You don't have to, because this is a very small body part and we'll just make a few stitches in beige now, so you can as well carry the yarn through outside of the stitches. So in this case, just drop it and make 3 single crochet in beige now. If you want to carry it through, you can. So we make 3 in beige, 1, 2, and with the third we change back to white. And then we make the remaining 6 stitches of the round in white. Again, you don't need to carry the beige yarn through the white stitches because we can just bring it back over here where we need it in the next round, but you can if you want to. So drop it or carry it with you. And with the last stitch of the round, we change back to beige. In the next round, again, feel free to drop the white yarn. We start with 2 single crochet. Oops. And then we make an increase. And with the second single crochet of the increase, we change to white. Then again, we make 2 single crochet. You can drop the beige yarn if you want. And an increase. And we repeat this again. 2 single crochet. And an increase, and with the second single crochet of the increase we will change back to beige. That's 1 and 2, changing back to beige. Oops, there we go. We don't need to fill the tail with fiber fill, but we can use these yarn ends. You can tie them together before and then use them as filling. And then we'll make the last round. So we start with a single crochet, sorry, and then we make a decrease. And then we make another single crochet, changing to white. And we can drop the brown yarn here. We'll finish the round with the white. And so we'll make a decrease. And this single crochet. And we repeat this 2 more times. Decrease. Single crochet. Sorry, one time, and then we make another decrease. So that's the tail done. And so now we can fasten off. We'll use the brown or beige yarn and for sewing, so you can leave that longer than the white. So the white one we can also use as filler. And that's the little tail done. So now comes the assembly part, and so I'm starting with the ears. I'd like the ears to go on quite centered and the inside of the ear kind of facing outward. So also I'm leaving at least this one round space between the ears and eyes. Let's pin it in place. Also, I'm using this as the base for the ears. So something like this. And then the other one would go on like this. Yeah, so that's what I'm aiming for. So let me show you how I do this part with this ear. So just bring the yarn in. The longer one that's already threaded, that the working end that we brought from the tip down to the base, that's what I'm starting with. And now I just pick up a loop on the head. And then go through the ear again. And I'm going to pinch the base together like this. So now going through the head again. And back through the ear. Through the head. Through the ear. Through the ear again. I'll weave this end in now and use the other one to finish. So I'm using the other one to stitch the base, stitch the ear together at the base like this. Just going through here a few times through both layers. I think that's enough. Through the head again, the base of the ear, and that should be enough. So now I'll weave this yarn end in as well. There we go, that's one ear done. Now we attach the other one, so you can do this in the same way, trying to attach it to make it look as symmetrical as possible. I left about, for the other one, I left about 3 stitches space in between ears. So that's the head complete. Now we can attach it to the body, and so make sure that the neck is nicely filled. Also, we want to make sure that the back of the head aligns with the neck. Other than that, attach it any way you like, looking up or down or whatever you prefer. I'll pin it in place first to have a good look at it from all angles. So I think I'll keep it that way. Now we thread this long yarn end on our yarn needle. And we go all around the neck. So we start picking up a loop on the head, very close to the last stitch here. I'll go through this stitch again, although this is the one that has the last slip stitch in, just to attach the neck more firmly. So from the outside in, I'll go through each stitch of the neck. Then I pick up again a loop or two on the head. And then I go through the next stitch of the neck from the outside in. So if your yarn end is still holding up enough to fill any gaps, you can use it for that. If not, you can join a new one. You might have a gap here where we made this opening for the chest and neck. You definitely have one here. Maybe you also have one on the other side. So we can close these gaps now together. Let's see. I might need a new end for this. We'll see how it's holding up. So if your yarn end's still okay, you can bring it to this gap here, and then we can close it with a few stitches. One more. And then we can weave the end in. You may want to stitch the forelegs together. So that's what I did here with this rabbit. So you can use the yarn, and if you still have enough, if you use this type of yarn, you won't have any trouble with that as long as it's long enough. So you can then take it into the forelegs and stitch them together in the front. With this one, I'll leave them as they are. But this is just an option that I wanted to mention as well. So if you don't have any more gaps, with this version, this one is okay. Here I had to close it with a little fake stitch there. So you can do that depending on whether it's needed or not. And then we can attach the tail. So the tail should go with the brown or beige side up, centered on the rear here, somewhere here. So I'd like it to stick out just slightly from the back. So now my setup is almost too small for this rabbit. Let's see. I think that placement works. Okay, so then we can thread our yarn end. And as we did with the other body parts, we just alternate between stitches through the body. And the tail, all that's important is that it's centered and that it's kind of facing up, which gives it the cute bunny look. So I'll stitch it on in a way that it points upwards. Remove the pins. That's it. Now I'm just going through and weave in this yarn end. And that's it. Our rabbit is complete. I ended up redoing the embroidery. I just did it on top of the existing one with thicker thread. So this is 4-ply fingering yarn, Scheepjes Katona. I'll be sure to mention this when editing. I think it looks much cuter this way. And so we're all done with this project. I'm really glad that I didn't give up on it. Thank you so very much for crocheting along with me. I hope you enjoyed this project as much as I did, and if you did, please give this video a like for me and comment below which version you made. Did you make a small or large rabbit? I'm really curious to know which yarn you used. And so thank you very much for being here. Subscribe if you haven't already, turn on notifications so you don't miss any of my future crochet tutorials, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!